So we're coming up to Easter, and this is a very important time of year in the Christian festival. In fact, we'd almost want to go far enough and say it's the most important time when we consider what it means with the purpose of why God created the world, of why Christ had to come into the world, as we think about his entry into Jerusalem on Palm Sunday, as we consider the depth and emotion of Good Friday, all the way through to jubilant exaltation on Easter Sunday. And so we're going to gather on Palm Sunday, on Good Friday, and on Resurrection Sunday, 10:30 in the morning at 27A Morley Road in Folkestone. And we'd love if you're free to come and join us and enjoy God with us together as we think through the implications for the reason why God created the world.
What is the significance of Easter?
Why, no matter how much we do and how much we have and how much we experience, our hearts never seem satisfied. There always seems a longing beyond what we've got, even if what we were hoping for delivers to some degree. What happens afterwards? And so I'm not the only person to think these questions, and one of the famous church fathers, his name is Augustine. He was born from 354 and died in 430 and had a radical conversion from paganism and chasing after his heart to be satisfied. And he writes a book called Confessions in about 397, 398, and in the beginning of that book, he makes the most profound statement, which I think encapsulates what we need to understand of why Christ came at Easter. And I'm going to read that for you. And here's what he says. "The thought of you, O God, stirs a man so deeply that he cannot be content unless he praises you. Because you made us for yourself, O God, and our hearts find no peace until they find rest in you." Christ came at Easter, and we're going to explore that through three different motifs to understand why he came and why he can satisfy the deepest longing of our hearts.
In Mark's Gospel, in chapter 10, verse 45 says as follows: "For even the Son of Man came not to be served, but to serve, and to give his life as a ransom for many." Now, for many who have got no awareness of the Gospel, this short passage can provoke many questions. One of the things it should make us think about is the fact that God is not distant from us and that he actually came to serve us. This is a deeply, deeply, deeply profound concept which many religions in the world would just not be able to comprehend. But friends, this is the good news of Easter. We have a God who is willing to move deeply to ensure that we can spend an eternity with him.
Why should we celebrate Easter as Christ followers?
I want to think through just very briefly with you out of John's Gospel in chapter 15 to help us see what God offers us in himself as he brings us into a relationship with him. Here's what he says. This is Christ speaking. "As the Father has loved me, so I have loved you. Abide in my love." The love which God the Father loved God the Son, and the love which God the Son loved God the Father with, is the same love that he loves us with and brings us into relationship with him through, in order that we may know him and enjoy him. And as we think through what it means to be one who's invited by God through Christ into relationship with him, we have this wonderful encouragement in Colossians chapter 1. It's a book in the New Testament that the Apostle Paul wrote around the kind of early 60s approximately. Here's what he says. "God," that's the Father, "has delivered us from the domain of darkness and transferred us into the kingdom of his beloved Son, in whom we have redemption, the forgiveness of sins." So through Christ's coming, what we remember at Easter is we've been redeemed. That means the price has been paid, the debt has been gone, the record has been expunged. Forgiveness comes upon us for the way that we've lived, and we've all lived in ways which are not in the light of where God would want us to live. And now we've been brought relationally and wholeheartedly into the kingdom of Christ, that now you and I, when we become followers of Jesus, we get to talk to God the Father the same way that the eternal Son, Christ, has always spoke to him. We get to call him Father, and that Christ then becomes our elder brother who has gone before us and done for us what we could not do for ourselves.
So friends, we hope that through these videos you've learned a little bit more about Easter that maybe you didn't know before. But we don't want your experience of Easter just to be these videos. We very much look forward to seeing you coming and joining us at our Easter services to hear more about this God of love who has not abandoned us in the middle of our weaknesses and our rebellion towards him, but instead sent his Son, sent Christ to do a work so that we could all be saved.